You're listening to an interview with Dr. Kelli Ward on the James T. Harris Show, aired Thursday, September 3rd, and streamed through 104.1 KQTH in Tucson. Support Senator Ward in the primary versus John McCain. Visit KelliWard.com and join the team.
Well, my friends, in studio we have Dr. Kelli Ward. She is also Senator Kelli Ward, and she wears both hats with skill. Here's a little bit of background here. She earned her BS in psychology from Duke University, and I'm not going to hold that against her today, even though Duke did beat my Wisconsin Badgers in the NCAA championships after they beat, of course, the Wildcats to get there. But she did go to Duke, and she's a doctor of family medicine. Right?
You got it.
From West Virginia. And she has a master's degree in public health from A.T. Still University. She lives in Lake Havasu City with her husband. He's a doctor as well. And they have 3 children, sis. That's fantastic. Two boys and a girl?
Yep. Exactly.
2 boys and a girl and a dog.
And a dog.
So you're just like the all-American family. This is fantastic. And you're a state senator. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kelli, for my audience who are not familiar with you?
All right. Well, it is great to be here in studio with you, and I will attest to the beautiful man and sexy side.
Come on now.
Right here, right in front of me.
So we like you already.
And I'll tell you a little bit about myself.
Okay.
I will tell you that I never thought I'd be in politics. That's number one. I'm a mom. I'm a military wife. I'm a doctor. Now I'm a state senator. Really, I never thought I'd be into politics. There were a lot of things that kind of put me in that direction. September 11th was the main thing that changed my life, like it changed so many other people's lives. It made me wake up and say, what the heck am I doing? What is happening in our world, in our country, that something like that could happen? I started to learn different things, watch different TV shows, listen to different radio shows, read different books, so that I was educated on what was happening. As I became more educated, I started to have higher expectations for the people who represent us. I started to write letters. I started to send emails, and I was really disappointed most of the time what I got back, which was nothing, or the famous form letter.
Right.
Every now and then I'd get something personal. I found myself throwing my hands in the air and saying, why doesn't somebody do something? Finally, I looked at my hands and said, why don't I do something? I've got skills, I've got talents, I've got abilities. I have been blessed with so much. I should be sharing that. I shouldn't be hoarding it to my family or to my patient population. There was something that I could do on a bigger scale, and that's how I got into this political arena. Now, Obamacare was the thing that pushed me over the edge to actually run.
Well, that's interesting because, of course, you being in the profession, yes, and also like Dr. Ben Carson, who had pointed things to say about Obamacare. Were you surprised, especially in politics, were you surprised that this administration did not rely on the expertise of people like you, who could probably explain how this, because it wasn't really broken, just needed to be maybe tweaked here or there. Were you surprised that you really were not consulted?
Well, I wasn't surprised because this administration, I don't think, takes into account anybody of expertise other than the people who want to redistribute things. But I think that they should have gotten with doctors in the trenches. They should have talked to people who actually are touching patients. They shouldn't be talking to only either ivory tower type people or people who just haven't touched a patient in years and years and years and years. I can tell you, I work in the ER now. I don't have a traditional family practice any longer. I work in the emergency department in rural Arizona, and I see the good, the bad, and the ugly of Obamacare. I will say maybe there's a tiny bit of good, but it's really hard to find. There is a lot of bad, and there is a lot of ugly, and that could have all been prevented if the experts had been consulted before we went this way.
I appreciate the fact that you would acknowledge that there are some good things in Obamacare, because most people like they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm for free enterprise. I'm for choice, and that's what was removed from the American people. But you being in that profession could see some of the good things in it. But again, you were not consulted. People who knew were not consulted. I love what Ben Carson said at the prayer breakfast over a year ago. What should have been done. So you saw that, and I imagine working as a state senator in your role bills coming through. You've seen a lot of other federal overreach through regulation, have you not?
Oh my gosh, yes. Every day at the legislature you see where the federal government is trying to overreach into our areas of control. I think that it's very important that we restore the proper balance between the states and the federal government, because right now the federal government has become so big, so overreaching, so overblown that none of us as Americans are experiencing the liberty and freedom that we should be experiencing every single day.
Okay, so I got to ask you, if you win this election, if you beat John McCain,
when?
I like it. When you defeat Senator John McCain, how will your experiences inform your decisions on Capitol Hill?
Right. Well, I think all of the hats that I wear uniquely prepare me to be in the political realm. I mean, from being a mom, of course, being a mom, running a household, doing those things, from being a small business owner, from being a physician, taking care of people who are reaching out, who are having trouble. The physician part actually prepares me pretty well, because I have always had lobbyists my entire career. They're called drug reps, pharmaceutical representatives. They are beautiful people. They have great information, but they always want to sell you something. And guess what? The lobbyists are exactly the same. And I've had to deal with them. I understand how to deal with them, but I think some people get into politics and they think that the lobbyists actually like them. And they start to believe the lobbyists are who they should listen to rather than their constituents. And that is something that we have to stop. That is something that I would bring to Washington, D.C. And I think I'm uniquely prepared and I'm ready to go.
Kelli Ward, Dr. Ward, I'm sorry.
No, Kelli Ward.
I have to say that your answer there is revealing, because you're right, and I have friends who are also in the business, and the pressure that's put under them to buy these products it's the same thing in Washington, D.C. The whining and the dining and all that goes into that is the same as Washington, D.C. on a smaller scale. So you're saying that your experience in dealing with that has prepared you for the intensity of the lobbying that would go on.
Yes, definitely. It's like an immunization against that influence. And also, I've been in the state legislature. This is my second term, and I've learned a lot about how the system works. I've learned a lot about the good and the bad there as well. And I've been able to be very, very effective there, trying to shrink the size of government, trying to keep our taxes low, making it so that business is not impeded by government, looking for ways to enhance our small businesses and let them grow, putting some accountability into our welfare system, especially Medicaid. All those things I've been able to work on, have been able to bring together coalitions, and have been able to get passed and signed into law. It's been great.
So one of the things that Senator McCain is most known for in southern Arizona is his famous line, build the dang fence. It didn't happen.
That was a good impression. I like it.
Thank you very much. He won't talk to me anymore, but that's okay. Should the fence have been built?
Well, you know what? I think that everybody wanted to believe Senator McCain when he said those words, build the dang fence, that we were going to secure our border, that we were going to fight against illegal immigration. And I know I was disappointed, and I know thousands of Arizonans were disappointed when he got to Washington, D.C., and he voted straight for amnesty. I think that we need to have an all-of-the-above approach to securing our border. It can't just be a fence. There needs to be a physical barrier in some places. We need to make sure that there aren't tunnels. We need to destroy those. We need to have a physical presence at some places on our border, because right now, if a 9-year-old girl from Guatemala can walk across the border, so can a terrorist who hates us. And so border security is national security, and we must have it.
We are speaking with Senator Dr. Kelli Ward. She is a state senator, of course. She's running against John McCain to be our senator, national U.S. senator. Let me ask you, what has the experience been like going up against the Maverick?
It's been pretty interesting because, I've been really surprised that the attacks came out so early against me, and that he's building his team so early, which I think is good because it means that there's fear over there on the other side. I think the establishment as a whole has fear of the insurgent candidates that are out there, that are great candidates, that are ready to take this country down a different path and to enhance what we have for our citizens and for our people. it's the day I made my announcement was July 14th, and before my feet hit the ground that morning, there were 2 attack ads out, one from Senator McCain's super PAC and one from his campaign. And so it was really interesting to me because I thought, wow, that shows that there is fear out there and that they're taking me seriously, because whenever I first started to talk about it, they said I was in the JV and that I was just a little unknown rural senator, and how did I ever think that I could go to Washington, D.C. and represent the people of Washington, of Arizona in Washington, D.C. And I think that I'm proven that I can and I will do that.
Well, here's the deal. When we come back, Dr. Ward, I want to get a little bit deeper into that, because they did say these things about you, but they also said you was crazy. They said you're crazy. I've heard that.
Not just me, a lot of Arizonans.
Wacky birds.
Yeah.
Crazies, and I have to be honest that when someone who is coming out of the State Senate, someone who's not well known, and I had a lot of pressure to interview you early on, but I also were told by the people who didn't want that to happen that you were like Looney Tunes and all this other kind of stuff. I'm looking at you now. You seem to be all right.
All right, I like it.
I got some more questions for you. We will see, though. We have State Senator Dr. Kelli Ward in studio, my friends, and we have some more questions for her. She, of course, is running to be your senator, right? And she's running against a legend. Well, you listen to Wonderful One KQTH.
On 104.1 KQTH.
You are listening to and talk in studio right now. We have Dr. Kelli Ward. She is state senator. She is running for the U.S. Senate, my friends, and she is the clear underdog because the man who occupies that seat right now has been around for forever. But you've picked a really good year to jump into this thing, because nothing is as it seems. The things that used to work, Dr. Ward, are not working now, as we can see from the right side of the aisle with Trump to the left side of the aisle with Bernie Sanders. Everything is being shaken up, and I think it's because people no longer trust the politicians that they send out to Washington, D.C. And we've seen this before. We see people who say things, they say they're conservative. Then when they get to Washington, D.C., all of a sudden they change. They fall into line. They vote for leadership because they want the powerful chairmanships, and they realize if they don't toe the line, they're never going to have a shot at it. Are you telling me, Dr. Ward, that you are going to be different?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And because, you know what, a lot of the politicians who are in Washington, D.C. don't have jobs and have never really worked, or it's been a long time. For me, I think this is obviously a very, very important election. I think it's got implications, obviously, in Arizona, but also nationally, because Senator McCain gives so much cover to other Republicans to vote the wrong way. And so we need to rip that cover off. And for me, I've got a job. I'm a doctor. I love my job. I love my patients, and I'm really good at my job. And so if I'm not in Washington, D.C., I'll be back in Arizona. I'll be taking care of people. But I hope that I'm able to use those skills and talents and abilities that I have to serve the people in public office and do what is not being done right now. And I think that the people that are in office right now deserve everything that they're getting because they have not done what they promised.
You know, you remind me of a friend who was also a senator from the great state of Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, who was a businessman and ran for office and got there, and he's actually trying to do the things that he said he would do. When you get there, though, I'm sure you're aware of the opposition that you'll be up against to conform. If you were When you beat
Yes, when?
Senator John McCain, what's one of the first things you want to push?
Well, first of all, I'm not in this to get a corner office or to get a cushy job or to get a window or a good parking place. I'm in this to serve the people. I definitely will be focusing on the immigration problem and the border because John McCain and Senator Flake, sorry to say, have both dropped the ball by joining the Gang of Eight and voting for amnesty. So that will be something that's very, very important. Also, looking to still fully repeal Obamacare, not to replace it with something, because as a doctor, if somebody has cancer and we cut it out, we don't put something back in there. I want to cut it out, and I want to have a free market approach to healthcare. I want to have consumerism. I want transparency in pricing. I want people to be able to get what they want and what they deserve, not settle for what the government says they can have. So I'll be focusing on that. I'll also be working on some tax plans to flatten out our tax, to make it more